Hi, everybody. It's Mary Long here with the Plein Air Painters Chicago. And tonight is a very exciting night. Tonight we have the Sonny and Cher of critics, or the of the critic. You know, I've listened to Errol Jacobson and Stephanie Weidner. Did I say it right? Oh, that's good. It's only been 5 years. But to Errol Jacobson and Stephanie Weidner, many times they've been talking about paintings, and I realized that I think it would be really great to get both perspectives on paintings. And I thought it would be kind of fun this week to have the two of them talking about our paintings. So we've come up with a few ground rules. One of the things that we're going to do, they're going to alternate starting on each painting. And then from there, they will chime in however they'd like, but I'm not too sure who's going to start with the first one. And then they will comment on that. But that way, one person will take kind of the lead on doing the coverage of the painting. But if there's any kind of other comments about it, they will make them.
Did you want us to show our paintings first?
Yeah, you know what, Errol, of course, that would be really great. Go ahead and
Go
share.
ahead, Stephanie.
Start with the Mason door, that door.
So this is yours, Stephanie?
Right, Masonic Club. I did it in Mineral Point, and I like to do storefront straight on. And it's, I like to use the shadows to give form to a flat surface. I mean, obviously it's not flat. So go ahead. And I just think that shadows and light are so important to give form. And one of the reasons I included this is going through the images. You see the light on the right behind the house. Oh, I can annotate. Over here, it helps to pop the house forward. So I noticed that in some of the paintings.
Great.
And this was, I just wanted to include it because it's a lot of trees without much detail and flat water, flat, calm water. Some of the water I found in some of the examples was relatively rough, and maybe it didn't need to be. Maybe it could be calm. And I included two of these because somebody did the Lincoln Park Conservatory. So I forgot who did it, but I included both of mine, and just to show how dark some of the glass can be against the sky. And go ahead and switch to the next one. And you know, it picks up some of the light from the sky, and it also, some of the building contrasts with the sky.
Great.
And just an example of street, you know, shadow and how important it is, shadow and light. And yeah. And this is one of the buildings from Fulton Market, and I love it. And I don't think I'll sell it because I think they tore it down the next week. And Errol and I both painted this building. Our paintings are quite different, but it just shows how much you can do with a shadow on a flat surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I did this one because one of the reasons is I like the white stripes. Do you see how they go from shadow to sunlight? You know, just by changing the value and the temperature of the white stripes. Oh, here. And anyway, very little detail, but it's but I happen to like it. It's got more color than sometimes I use, and I just felt like it was a successful painting. That's right.
Come up. So I just picked up a bunch of random paintings. I mean, no particular reason. They were kind of all grouped together, so I grabbed them. Obviously, this is Wrigley Field. It's a plein air painting. I did work on this a little bit after I painted plein air. You know, so there's that big debate, what's plein air? Is it just, you know, what you get when you go out there? I do lots of paintings that what I get is what I get. And then I have other paintings that I may take back to after I'm done. This one happened to sell, so I wanted to, like, you know, tighten it up a little bit and put a little more detail, but not too much really. It pretty much looked like this out in the field. And I painted this scene many times. If you guys get a chance, it's a really good corner, good view to paint Wrigley Field. Okay, you can go on. This is a a very loose plein air painting. This is all plein air. It was probably a hour and a half painting, and what attracted to me was the yellow umbrellas, and that's really what I cared about. I did this a while ago. I mean, if I did it again, I might change some things. Yeah, that's all really that's about. And if you saw it in person, there's a lot of texture and a lot of paint buildup on it that really doesn't necessarily show up in pictures. Okay. So this is this is all plein air also. This is a one-shot deal. It's basically sort of a monochromatic painting. It's just light and shadow, and it's in an alley by Wrigley Field. We were all painting, with the group out that day. This is from like I think 2 years ago, and I always liked the painting. And when I look at it, if I wanted to critique it, there's some things that I could do on it. I might like strengthen some colors, put some lights up on top of the train, some highlights on top of the train, and I thought it was a pretty successful painting, and it's got like a good abstract design. With like Scott was talking about, with the darks and the lights, just with that little bit of light popping through the alley. So I look for those kind of things when I go out and paint. I can squint down and look for a strong contrast. Usually that makes a successful painting for me. Okay. And this is another plein air painting, Michigan Avenue Bridge. This is another one I worked on a little bit afterwards. So when I work on them afterwards, I might do 2.5 hours in the field, then maybe half an hour back in the studio, and it's so I thought this one came out pretty good. Okay. This is again another plein air painting. This is just plein air. It's a very simple, sort of simple. It's Montrose Harbor with the boats. I just wanted to capture the feeling. I didn't want to render out every boat. I mean, you can tell they're boats, and it's loosely painted. But I always liked this little painting, so I thought I'd include that. This is a studio piece, and the reason I included it is because a lot of times you can't tell the difference between my studio pieces and my plein air pieces. And that's really a result of painting a lot of plein air. So, for all you guys that, we got a lot of experienced painters in the group, and some that I don't know well, that may not paint all that much or just started plein air, that the plein air kind of creeps into the studio work. So I really couldn't have done this work. I did this from a photo. This is Charleston, South Carolina. I painted it from the photo. If I didn't paint plein air, it wouldn't look like this. It would be much tighter, looking more like a photograph. So I used a photograph, but I didn't make it look like a photograph. I painted a painting, and I also changed the harmony and the color of this in the photograph, where I took it and I put some filters on it and gave it its kind of greenish cast. So I took some liberties with this, but I thought it was another successful painting, I think. I have plenty of unsuccessful paintings, believe me. So this Mary, you'll remember, and Lori, we went to Cuba for my 70th birthday, and we went with me and 7 other painters. Lori and Mary came, and Stephanie, and this was Cafe de Paris, I think it's called, and it's right in Havana. It was like right by our hotel, and what attracted me was the sunlit side of the building. And I like the scene. I put the little guy in with the light hitting his head, and yeah, this painting brings back a lot of good memories. It's a little 8x10. Okay.
I was painting right next to you.
Yeah.
And I was too.
Okay. Only I've got a couple more, I think. So this is a bigger piece. This is like 24 by 36, and it's from a photograph again. But again, I wanted to show this because it shows my experience as a plein air painter, where I took the photograph has a lot of when you look at a photograph and you're painting from it, it's a very dangerous thing to paint from because a photograph is just a machine, and it takes all the edges. It doesn't know a soft edge from a hard edge. It groups all the darks together, it groups all the lights together. You don't get the atmospheric perspective. So by having all that knowledge from plein air painting, you can take a photograph and you can make it look more of a realistic, make it look like more like a painting and not like a photograph. So that's why I wanted to show that. That's in Paris.
And I think that was your, oh, there we go. There's your last
This
one.
might be the last one. It's kind of small. But again, this is from a photograph. It's a 24 by 36. It's Wicker Park, north in Damon, and it just goes to show you what you can do with the skills you're building up. That and you don't necessarily have to take your plein air sketches and make them into larger paintings. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can use that skill to transfer into painting from photographs. I was listening to Rose Franzen. If you guys know who Rose Franzen is, she's an amazing figure painter and well respected. She was a disciple of Richard Schmid, and she was talking that she was always painting from life, figures, and mostly figure painting. And lately, she's been painting from photographs. And even she said the reason her paintings of her figure paintings and the different types of allegorical paintings that she does look so great is because of all the experience she had in life. So our life painting is plein air painting. And so keep on painting plein air, even if you kind of delve more into like doing studio work. That's it.
Good.
Steph,
Thank
you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Is it Mary's painting? I can
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
Have
All right,
at it.
thanks.
Okay, so Mary.
Okay,
All right,
Mary.
so-
Now, Mary, okay, there's the painting.
Here's the painting.
Okay, I got the reference, Mary. Okay, there's the
My
reference.
turn.
I want to go to the, hang on, I want to go to my,
Errol, I'll
anno-
talk.
annotate.
Okay,
One
so
second.
Mary, I love your painting, the scene you picked.
Yeah, I
Just-
thought I was going to go first.
no, I said I was going first.
And so it starts.
Mary, who goes first?
Go ahead, Steph.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Mary, just go back to the photograph. Let me show you what I liked about the photograph. I love this. Okay, my annotation. I love the shape of the shadows, right? And the tall doorway. That's what caught my eye on the photograph. So, and then I can see this edge here, the contrast, and make it pop. So now let's go to your painting. So I think the perspective's off a little bit. I feel like I'm looking down. So maybe check and change the line of this building. Okay, but I just love the blue door and the brick. My comment would be to maybe focus on the overall shape of what you want people to see. That the tall opening that's really bright, okay? And maintain that. The other thing is your shadows get so warm over here, and I know that there's reflected light, so it'll be sort of warm, but I think if you cool down this wall and those shadows, that it would help. And also, you've got reflected light here, but what happens is you don't get that contrast. Remember I pointed out the contrast here? And I showed examples. So if you had a dark green behind that, it would pop, or vice versa, make this darker and then make this bright green. So I think that would help make it pop. The other thing is you've got a missed opportunity here because you've got light coming in here between the gate and the wall, because that wall wouldn't be so bright. It's not there in the photograph, but you could have had a little, you should sort of show it here, but you could have had a little sliver of light coming through. you know, and just for impact.
Yeah,
So-
good.
And then just try to incorporate other colors for your blue so it's not quite so foreign. You know, keep a limited palette and have every color in every color you use. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating, but so that it's not quite so foreign. But it's great little study or painting.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're done. Okay. So everything Stephanie says I think is spot on. The thing that I look at the photograph, it was a very powerful scene. We could put the photograph back up, Mary. I mean, this is an opportunity for an amazing, amazing painting because you have, that whole shadow side with that sliver of light bringing you into the light. So it's the whole thing of walking from the dark side into the light side. Okay, you can go back to the painting, please. The main thing I think you could have done that you can still do is to this whole side of the wall is in shadow, including this and this. The shadows are too warm, they're too hot, they're orange and yellow are hot colors. If you can cool this down with like a purplish blue, and also on the shadow side, not show the detail of every brick, maybe just a few. Just have this as one big shape, and it's got to come down quite a bit in value. So when you look through here, compare this value to this value.
What are you doing? I'm not seeing the annotations.
I just got my cursor.
Yeah, you've got to annotate if you're saying this.
See my cursor?
No.
Okay. Sorry. So this value to this value, when you're starting off, automatically set up your right away work on your value range and your relationships. So if you make this all darker and cooler, this darker and cooler, simplify it, this light is going to pop like crazy, okay? Mm-hmm. And then also this halo around this door right here, well, actually you've got the brick right here, that's fine. But you've got this halo running around here, which I'm not sure exactly what that is. But if you can like vary this green back here and make some of it, a little bit darker and maybe a little lighter, work on a couple of variations, it'll really strengthen the painting. So but otherwise it's a nice painting.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Simplify.
Simplify it. Okay. So Errol,
See how simple this is? And if you squint down, look at this value, look at this value. Try to establish that relationship right away as soon as you get out there. This value and this value, okay? Mm-hmm. And also the temperature, the shadows, warm light, cool shadows, okay?
Okay, good. You need to erase your annotation.
I'm going to wait up. I got to find my erase it unclear. No.
It should probably say, there you go. Okay, here's
I guess I'm up here. This is Jean Yang's, and that's the photograph.
Linda Brown's.
Oh. No, we did that last week, didn't we?
It was a different one.
Oh, it was a different one. Oh.
Yes, I'm on a value study kick, sorry.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. I thought we had this last week, so I didn't look at it. Well, I'll look at it now.
Thank you.
Okay, so nice little value study, and it's got a nice even though it's just monochromatic, it's got a nice sense of light, and then also I can see how there is this depth here, this horizon line right there, which gives me some gives you some atmospheric perspective. And this tree line back here, you did a nice job of keeping these trees a little bit lighter. If I would say anything, I would say the bottoms of these trees up here, mass these in, make this a more like a stronger, more of a solid mass, and I think it'll it'll add to the strength of the composition. When you get out there, squint and look for your dark shapes. Also, I think you could make these trees in the front, these trunks, a little bit darker. Don't be afraid. You've got 2 values here, basically. Try to go for 3 values. I know you got a little bit of dark right there, but you got a light here. You got kind of a mid-tone right here. There's sort of a dark here, but I think these trees could be darker.
Okay.
And this could be a little darker up in here. And I think that would bring all this whole group forward. These trees back here are fine. As they recede, they get lighter, but not as light as the background back here. So keep in mind when you're doing these about your atmospheric perspective. Also, you see how you got this going like this? What this does is it leads the viewer off the edge of the painting. I mean, I want to go this way, but I'm competing with this and this. What I would do is I would have brought some trees up in here, and maybe, you know, a few here, break up this sky hole right here. Not even the sky, this bit of sky with more trees, even if you don't see it that way. So this here is going to be your lightest area. Now you got this light area competing with this light area. Okay, but otherwise, great job.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so let me see.
You need to erase.
Yeah, erase.
Okay.
So let me just say what
Oh, sorry.
yeah, so I agree with much of what Errol said. I'm not bothered by the tree falling off there. The only comment I'd add, it sort of goes hand in hand with what Errol said, is if you darkened the shadows down here and then lightened the lights, you'd have a stronger composition.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, so I love the layout. It's really sweet, and I just think with some darker areas and lighter areas on the ground plane, and maybe in the trunks, it might help it. But it's beautiful.
Thank you both. Such helpful comments. Appreciate it.
There's the scene. There's the painting.
You're up, Steph.
Oh, I'm up. Okay, and this is Karen's. So Karen, I love red and green, and this is almost like a still life. So there were some very nice things about it. What I was going to suggest is you've got 4 elements here, 4 groupings, and I would suggest maybe 5. For some reason, odd numbers work better in paintings. And also you might even put, you know, a bunch running off the page, you know, just a few, you know, so that it doesn't, so that it looks like they're, you know, they're all over the garden. So the other thing would be to have 5. I love the green in front, all this bright green, and I wouldn't mind seeing it in the back, you know, especially against the red. You could even make those reds hotter, but I just really love them. I love this green and the darkness, and I sort of miss it back here where it gets lighter and more faded. So that's it.
Get it, Steph?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I agree with Steph on this, almost on everything. So the uneven numbers, things are better in odd numbers. So, and I like her idea about putting a few more of the flowers running off the top of the page. Perfect. What I love that you did with this painting, which is very tricky, is that when you put green and red together, being complementary colors, they can get very garish. You kept it very soft and very harmonious. And it's really beautiful. You know, it's a simple little painting. I'll take some exception with what Stephanie said is, as in the front area, well, I won't annotate. Just in the front area of the ground, the color, the greens can be a little stronger, and as they go back, they get lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. And when you finally get to the top, I think that green is fine. And then maybe the front flowers could be a little stronger, possibly. A few, and as they go back, they get a little bit weaker. So you're getting some front to back distance, atmospheric perspective. Even though you're not looking at a mountain range, you still want to create that depth. And and when you put those other flowers in, I think you'll get that. So good job. That's it.
Shannon Birch.
Is that the next one? Oh,
Yes.
Muriel. That's what I have Muriel.
No,
It's
this is the
Shannon
next
Birch.
one.
Excuse me?
Your turn, Errol. This is the next one.
Well, that's the next one? Okay, I had Muriel next. Okay. This is whose?
Shannon Birch.
Who? Sharon.
Shannon Birch.
Okay, just a minute.
Is Shannon here?
Okay, these are way out of order from what I had. On this one, this is a nice little architectural painting. I think there's a lot of really good things with this painting, but there's a lot of things that can be done to improve it. The first thing that I feel that, let's see, get this. So this perspective is fine. This is going back to the horizon line. The horizon line is right here. You know, she's standing on the ground looking at this. So the vanishing point is way out here someplace. So this perspective is going to go down like this. She's got this perspective going uphill, where it should be going to another bit.
Sorry, don't know what happened.
Another vanishing point over here, way out, another 40 feet out. So this roof line's got to come down like that. So that's 2-point perspective. The bottom is pretty good. Same thing with the roof up here. If you notice, this roof is going uphill, where it should be coming down like, I think like that. Okay, and the other thing is, let me clear this, these lines, because this is a good lesson for everybody. Sorry. Okay, when you're painting architecture, you really want your verticals straight. And these lines are kind of wonky. And see how they're kind of like, this comes like this and out like this. And this window's going like this, and that window's coming like this. Try to keep your verticals straight. Your verticals should be straight all the way through, and it's going to make the painting a lot stronger. And you can use a T-square for that if your hand is not that steady. So I think basically, I thought real nice job on the trees. I love the trees. I love the light, the shade, and I think she did a great job. It's a charming painting. It's just I would paint it again and try to get the perspective correct. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Steph.
Okay, so remove your lines, and I love the roof lines on this. I just love all these green roof lines. And so my only comments would, well, this vertical, I'm okay with verticals being off a little bit, but I do think that since the contrast is so high here, this one needs to be straight, like Errol said. And then I find a little bit, and clean this line up, but I find a little conflict with this being so bright. I want to look at the roofs, but my eye keeps going to the leaves. So I might change the shape of the leaves, have them come out, and then tone this down, because this looks like it's the shadow side of the building. And they're brighter than this side of the building. So I would just try to figure out what you're going to focus on, and have it not compete with other parts of the painting. But I love the roof lines and the color and stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. Muriel.
Okay, so I go first on this one. So Muriel, are you here? Is Muriel here? Do we know if Muriel's here today?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, all right. So Muriel, so I love a lot of things about it. I feel like the perspective's off. I feel like I'm in a 2-story or 3-story building looking down at it. So one of the reasons is that this pond is so big, it probably is, like in the photograph, it's not as big. So that might help with the perspective if you flatten the sidewalk here. So, but what you've got a lot of things going on, and I think your center of interest is these people. Is that right?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay, so we got a few things competing with them, and the movement works for them. You might even have them come out farther over here if you want them, but the contrast in colors between this yellow tree and some of the greens, it takes my eyes away from them. I might simplify all the trees back here. I just love these colors over here. It could be a painting in itself. And then, so I would just figure out, like, do you need this bright yellow? Maybe use one of the colors you already have. It could be stronger to bring your attention to this grouping. And then back to perspective, because the sidewalk is up higher, it's above where their eyes are. I feel like I'm walking uphill, you know, that I'm either on the 3rd story or they're going uphill. So just watch the perspective and then bring everything to focus on what your central point is. And then the thing about the water is, in the photo, I saw that it was flatter and darker, and it would serve to direct your eye to the people if it were. I don't know where this bright green reflection is coming from in the water. So I think calming the water and unifying the trees would be helpful.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and you know, I agree with everything. I pretty much had all those things down, so I'm not going to repeat them, that Stephanie said. But I do have I was confused where to look, because there's a lot of things to look at here. And I think that it's a good idea with the, as far as the people are concerned. Oops, I got a straight line here. So I think what you could do is, these people here could be eliminated, and this could be just toned down and just kind of mushed together. So we'll keep our eye moving, because you've got a path here. And when you have a path, the eye wants to wander down the path. The problem I have is, well, a couple problems is, you've got 2 paths. So I'm going to make a choice, which path to go down. I think what you could do is take this path area, just a compositional thing, kind of like tone this down a little bit, keep this path the way you have it, have these people here, bring them a little further up here and a little bit bigger. All right, so they, you know, so they're, you know, they're, and then have maybe another person here, and then maybe one down here, and then we'll follow. You know, it'll bring your eye. It'll give them a reward for coming down the path. So I think that might help a little bit. That's about all I have to say.
Thanks.
Real nice paint application. Great colors. Yeah, and yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Errol.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta undo. Okay. Clear. This is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is James. Okay, so this painting is, you know, I kind of like to look, when I look at a painting, what kind of day is it? Is she painted this plein air? This is, I think, a warm day. Because we've got strong shadows underneath these oops, underneath these roots coming out. Let me get underneath these roots, all these shadows are pretty strong. So Jean, are you here? Nope, maybe she's not here. Well, I'm going to assume it was a warm day, and I think that what could really help this painting a little bit is to warm up these roots a little bit, and cool off the shadows. The shadows are pretty cool, so it just the roots need to be a little warmer, and then maybe make some sharp edges on the roots. So I really think this painting is about the shadow pattern and the roots. Nice job on the trees, the sky. She's looking up. I feel like I'm looking up. That's about all I got to say on it.
Okay, and then I just want to add, I agree, but I'd probably focus on differentiating the shadows from the roots. Maybe, I mean, she did a great job on texture with some of these roots, and maybe smooth down the shadows of the roots so that they stand apart. And then there's just a couple areas of vegetation that I might flatten or loosen up, you know, make it a little softer and blend with the background. But I think it's sort of like a still life in the dunes or something. It's very nice. Thank you. I'm done. Oh, okay. Okay, mine. Okay, so I love the color and the texture. I'm not clear what's going on, and as a design, it doesn't really matter, but I'm trying to look at like warms and cools. I see cool shadows, and then I see this spot here, which doesn't look particularly warm to me compared to the cool shadows. So if I want to compare shadows with light, I might warm up that light. And if it's hitting green, it might be a real hot green. And like the space back here might be a darker shadow, more like the purple we see over here. So I think I would just pay attention to the temperature and the shadows. And then there's a foreign color here that stands out. My eye goes to it. It's this turquoisey or cerulean color. And I don't really know where it's coming from. I love it as an abstract. I love it in there. Maybe this purple one too. But I love it as an abstract. But if it's a harmonious scene, and maybe that wasn't the objective, but you know, it would be a little bit more harmonious if you use some of the other colors in that. That's it. Oh, and just smooth out some of the leaves in the sky. Like maybe even bring the leaves up higher and fill the sky holes later. Just flatten them a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So when I look at this painting, I mean, it's an abstract interpretation of the scene. It's got heavy texture on the paint, and which I like. And usually I don't like usually I like 75% texture, 25% smooth, or vice versa. I don't like everything all over one painting. But in this painting, I think it works because I think that was your intention. The only thing that I would say about this is I think maybe some of the trunks could be a little bit darker. This is dark here, and maybe this a little bit darker here, possibly maybe another one back here. So maybe you've got one here, maybe that's not another little trunk right here. You know, so you have like these variations of trees, and maybe have a few more darks coming through, you know. But other than that, I mean, I think it's colorful, it's pretty, it's got a lot of energy. And I do feel a sense of depth. I really like this purple back in here, which gives me some distance. Maybe like incorporate more of that down in here, you know, so you see there's a purple like horizon line back there, you know, so this is sort of in shadow. And then it goes back kind of an atmospheric perspective. That's about it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, am I up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is Coons. I always wanted to paint a cemetery, and Coon did it. One of these days, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it, you know? Okay, so I can make a bad joke, but I won't. I will. You guys ever hear dead colors? In painting, like Michelangelo, all the Rubens, when they started a painting of the figure, they'd use dead colors. Actually, Andy Conklin teaches a method. So maybe I'd start the paintings with dead colors. I don't know, it's bad jokes. But anyways, so obviously it's a painting of a cemetery, and I looked at the reference photo. Kuhn took some liberties. Are you there, Kuhn?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, hi. Nice painting. You took some liberties with the perspective and what you were seeing, but that's fine. My eye automatically wants to go to the flag and this gravestone right down here, and that's good. But you know, I looked at this painting for a long time. I got a question to ask you. When you painted this from a photograph, right?
Yeah.
And this gravestone here in the photograph, the reference photo, is on an angle, which I think is a photo distortion. So that's kind of like making me fall off the painting a little bit. So that being said, there's not too many things. You could leave it just like it is, but something to think about. Again, we have 2, 2, and 2. So we have all evens. Think in terms of odds, you know. So I think if you put a couple like stones here, a stone here, maybe one back there, one there, you know, they don't have to be very detailed, just indications. And what you could do, I want to go this way in the painting. You could do, oh, I got to do my annotation here.
Yeah, we can see.
I want to go this way with the painting. You might kind of like make this light area, kind of like do a path that kind of like winds yourself down there. Also, I'm going back to this tree. I mean, it's a beautiful job in this tree, but I want to keep my eye, you know, in the painting up here. I think this is taking me off. So I probably would kill this light a little bit. And this is such a dark shape under here, such a strong shape. I would sort of like lighten it. You know, I don't know why this is so dark. And I mean, this is all beautifully done here. I would just kind of lighten this back here. So it goes back and then under here a little lighter too. But other than that, nice job.
Thank you.
Okay. And then Kuhn, yeah, it's very interesting. So I too, can you unannotate yourself, Errol?
Oh, okay, sure.
Recommend 5 elements, an odd number of elements, you know, maybe another stone here. And I'm not opposed to this leaning because it looks like an old cemetery. I'd probably get rid of the detail in this tree. None of the other trees have that much detail.
Okay.
And then so that your eye stays with the stones, if that's the intent. And then this appears to be a shadow to me, right? Is that in shadow?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is that if it's in shadow, yeah. And then probably this area might be in sun and this would be in shadow, so they would look different. And you'd get more dimension with it if you put half of it in sun.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that the flag is important. I might even switch these two so that, and maybe have the flag so that part of the shadow is behind the flag and it makes the flag pop. You know, if you had shadow behind the flag, it would, you know, it would really pop.
Right. Okay.
You know, so if that's the most important thing, but I don't know what the most important thing is to you.
Yeah, and I've got one more thing to say, Steph.
And just to get rid of the detail in the shadow, make the shadow less texture. Yeah. You don't need all the texture in the shadow.
And then I've got one more thing. As far as the flag is concerned, it's just a thought, Kuhn. You could put some, see, I still have my annotation on. You could put little, I mean, a little stone here, even smaller here, maybe even smaller there, and then put a flag on a couple of them. So it's kind of like maybe like, you know, Veterans Day, you know, or people come and put flags on veteran stones, you know. And I would also put, you know, if you start putting some stones over here, you need to put a couple over here too. Just like, but not put as much detail in them.
All right.
I love the bright green grass
Thank you.
Yeah. and the whole idea of the painting. It's very nice.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Oh, it's me now, huh?
Yep.
Hi, Barbara. I know who this is, Barbara.
Yes, it's me.
So, really sort of interesting that you found these downed the trees and you chose to paint them. So let me, yeah. So you took some liberties with the colors. I get that. Here's what I would recommend, that since they sort of duplicate each other, like an L here and then an L here,
Okay.
maybe, unless you really like the L's, I don't know if you thought about that when you were doing it.
Not really, no.
Okay, but maybe these get more lost in the background. They get more absorbed in the background.
Mhm.
And then you focus on the ones in front. And
Okay.
I would define the shadows, because you have a dark, this log floats because there's no shadow underneath it. And that's how you get things anchored. And then on top of it, there's a bigger shadow that overtakes it. If you look at the photograph, you'll see two shadows. So if you darken the shadows, can we go back to the photograph? See how there's a dark, let me get rid of this.
Yeah.
There's a dark shadow from the log itself
Oh, yeah.
right here. And then there's the shadow from the tree, which is a little lighter because it's more diffused, that runs all back here. And,
Uh-huh.
so, and I think it would help anchor the log. That log felt like it was floating to me. And then I love the contrast here. Let's go, and let's go back to the painting.
Mhm.
And oh, wait, see this little light coming through here? On the photograph, there's a little
Yes.
sliver of light.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I think is so important in
Mhm.
paintings. And it makes you see that log. So go back to the painting. And you've got a lot of light, but I think you don't have the shadow to make to. I think
I'm
the shadow would.
looking at the original. Sometimes the photographs so I'm looking at the original as you're talking.
Mhm.
And because the photo is really very,
Right.
very,
And sometimes we take photos and it's not at the exact time we painted it. And I
I
get
know.
that.
but yeah, I can see it. I can probably make it. I think I think the photo doesn't capture that very well, but I get it. I get
Yeah.
it.
So I just felt like primarily the log was like floating, and
Yes.
you could use some anchor, and that could tie it to the tree. And
Right.
maybe, yeah. And the dapple, I'd say either go dark on the tree or really add the dapples, so, sort of one or the other. It feels like it's sort of in between right now. And then just have the back ones blend in so that they don't compete with what's up front, because you've got two L's there. But anyway, it's really sort of an interesting composition. It's really, and I love the fact that you picked your own color palette for it. You really push the colors.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I agree with everything Stephanie said. I think you had a real good opportunity to like really make that sliver of light by darkening the front. And then I would also darken the back, I would bring, hang on a minute, let me get to this whole area back here. I think could be made darker. Because I look at the sky in the photograph, I know this is watercolor, so I'm not used to working watercolor, but the sky is a lot lighter than this part of the trees. So I just think these could be made a little darker. The trees could be made a little darker. These trees could be made a little darker. As Stephanie said, these darker. And to me, this is your hero right here.
Uh-huh.
Really crank up the light on that one. really like by surrounding it with darker colors and have that really glowing, in the forest with a little bit of rim light over here, and maybe some rim light. This is going to be all dark here, and then this branch comes up here with more light. So kind of like the center of interest is sort of like in that middle plane. So that's the way I see it.
Okay,
Barbara.
very good. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Okay. Clear. Okay, I'm up. Okay,
Mhm.
this is okay.
This is
This
Deborah.
is Deb Jackson's, and I love this little painting. It's a doghouse, I think, right, Deb? Are you here? I don't know if you're here or not.
I'm here, and it is a doghouse.
It's a doghouse, right? Or some kind
I
of
like
pet thing. Anyways, to me, it looks like a doghouse, and I think he did a really good job with this painting. Just a couple things that I think could help. Few things. I think that if you put just one thing, a little section of fence right here, not a lot, just a little bit, not as wide as the other one. So this will kind of like lead you through the gate into the doghouse. Let me change the color on the. Yeah, so lead you in. Also, if someone looks at this, if I didn't see the photograph, they might think this is a house and not a doghouse. So the thing that I know it's a doghouse is because you show the fence right here, and the gate. Wait, let me get back. I'm looking at the reference. Can you bring the reference back up, Mary? So you see the gate, and now you really understand that that's some kind of pet shelter. So and just like so, getting back to the painting. So I would work a little bit on that gate to make it actually look like a gate, or at least darken it. But I think I'd make the gate and also have it darken this area back here and simplify it so it sets off this, and darken this here so it sets off this. But real nice job on the roof, real nice job there, and maybe a little bit of like dirt, or as you have in your painting that is not pounded down grass, but kind of looks like scruffy dirt. And then a little bit darker in the inside, not totally dark like a hole, but a little darker value there. Also, I'd kill this area here with this light between this tree because it's taking my attention away from the focal point. And if you want to do something really cute, you can put a little dog laying in there, of some sort. Make some kind of like just a little head sticking up there or whatever. But nice job on all the trees. Also.
Okay,
Okay, good job.
thanks.
Okay. So hi, Deborah. This is,
Hi.
yeah, I like your building. I agree with Errol. This is my main comment. I switched colors because Errol took red. I had red, but I would darken this door so your eyes just sinks back there. And then this area over here is gold. It's warm. And what happens is warm colors come forward. And I think if you made that cooler, maybe a little darker, it would pop the white building portion forward. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And then I love the idea of the path. Well, you do sort of have a path here. And then on the trees, I was looking at the photograph, and the pattern on the trees sort of zigzags. I don't know if this is exactly, but maybe you could group some of these leaves more rather than what I started to see were lines of leaves, of branches. And so just look at the leaves and maybe group them more so that you don't get these lines of leaves. But I really like the composition, and I'm glad Errol talked about the picket fence on the right. It's like I wanted something else, like maybe a broken picket fence or something, but I think, yeah, adding it on the right a little bit might be helpful. But I just love the concept of that little
You could even put a little, you could take an artist license too and even put like the picket fence open, the door opening. You could just kind of make it up also.
But-
And that'll kind of like lead the viewer into the,
Yeah, but I think darkening this is the most essential part of it to
Yeah.
draw you back.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Steph, you're up next.
Oh, okay. Well, when she's ready, all I see is you.
Yes, we do.
Oh, that's romantic.
Yeah.
All right, 8:05, here we go.
Okay,
Okay.
So this one is the,
Oh, yeah. So I came up with a name for the, is Sandra here? I came up with the name for this one, and it's, because if you look at the painting, you see the little frogs on the balcony. So it's like, no, don't jump. is my name of it. Anyway, can you go to the painting itself? Yeah. So my comment on this one is that I think it might have been more interesting if you actually sat on the floor and painted it rather than look at it from above, because you've got these frogs, you know, and bring them like you're looking at them. And I think that all the frogs are painted very similarly, and perhaps if you have shadow, let me get my annotation up. If you have shadow, you could have it hit some of the frogs or parts of the frogs, and then have some in light, you know, like maybe this one's in light. And so that they start to get more form, and you know where the sun's coming from. That being said, if you have shadow and light, pop the light. So there would be areas where the light is really popped, and like over here, and then I know this is from a balcony, so there might be light coming from above, but maybe there's a little bit more form on the flowers, like maybe this edge is darkened. But I think the flowers overall were really nice, and the frogs are cute. They could have more color, and then the shadow on them would give them more shape. And then I probably would have change the color of the railing and not use so much black. Maybe have it get lost, like I think it's really a beige or a gray. And of course it'll have light sides and dark sides, but maybe tone it down so that it's not such an important feature. So that's about all I had.
okay. And then she painted the, so if I didn't see the reference photo, I wouldn't know she's on a balcony, you know. I mean, I'm not sure what all this blue would be back there. So I think she could take advantage by making it more about a place, I mean, a scene, the place it's taking place in. And she could do that by putting a building over here, you know. Building just in very light, you know, kind of like, it doesn't have to be very simple, just a form, and possibly even like a, you know, a horizon line back there, you know, of some sort, you know, that would indicate like, you know, maybe a street or something, you know, and maybe you know, another building over there of some sort, and then it would like, you know, I think it would give it, you know, you'd have a better idea of what the scene you're looking at. So that's my only comment on that. Just suggest. Okay. So this is Anne's, I think.
I'm here.
Anne, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Anne.
Hi there.
Hang on a minute. I got to find your reference for. Oh, there's your reference.
What's up?
Yeah, I really like this painting, Anne. I really think it's a successful painting. And
Thank you.
hang on a minute. I'm trying to find. Well, anyways. So, all right, fine. I'm good. You know, there's so many good things about this painting that, I don't really need to talk too much about it, but just a couple simple things that could help the painting is, again, you know, when you have something like, when you have something like this, you want to go back. You know, it's taking you, it's kind of an S curve in a way. I think if you just like bring this a little bit back here where you can see the water, and then maybe not even over here, I guess it's not important here, but I would bring it back here so this kind of like falls behind just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit. I think that would help. The other thing is I want to go back in the painting, and these rocks are rendered beautifully. But I noticed in the painting, in the reference photo, and even if I didn't see them in the reference photo, they're a little bit darker. You don't see the tops of them so much. So I would just kind of like maybe just kill it a little bit, the brightness of these colors a little bit, or vary them so they're not just so bright. So my eye wants to travel, you know, back this way. And also you've got like the foreground, you've got the middle ground, and you got the background. I think that this middle ground area back here could be a little harder edge here. So you feel like it's in front of this. And this shoreline where the water meets the, even without looking at the reference photo, I know there's, you know, dirt there and there's darkness there. And I think that would help it. I mean, you did a really nice job back here, but that's further back. Right here, it's closer. This is the closest, this is the next closest, that's the next closest. So I just think you could take advantage of that and maybe break up some of, you know, some of this, like this whole shape right here, underneath this tree, make it maybe just a little bit darker, but just to break that up a little bit. Kind of like you did in here, you know, and here and here. But you just kind of got this whole, you know, you might have got a little lazy here. I mean, well, you know, I'm saying that in the kindest way that, you know, because I do this all the time. I get working on a painting, and maybe some of you other guys have done this too, where I kind of like forget about different sections of the painting because I get so involved with like in the rocks, this is all beautiful. And then I kind of forget about this side. Don't forget about this side, because this right now, this painting's weighted. It's all weighted on this side, but we need a little weight over here too. So just, you know, think about finishing the other side too. And the more I look at it, the more I'm sure that this side needs to be not maybe as rendered as much as all this, but still more than what you have. And otherwise, great job.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So now Errol switched to blue now that I had blue. Okay, so I'll switch back to red. And it's a great painting. I love the rocks. Errol said some good things. So I'm just going to talk about the water. So if this were darker over here, these trees Errol talked about, here, what I do for my reflections is I paint them vertically. So I would paint all this dark green over here. And then I come in and I float the ripples of water, you know, where the air's messing with the water and making it light. I float them horizontally. So here, like I would have all this dark, all this area would be dark. I'd paint this all dark, okay, where I've got stuff that's reflecting down.
Yeah.
And then I come and float my lily pads on it. If you look at the photograph, it's almost black underneath those lily pads. I'd probably use an olive green. So you can float things on top. The other thing is, so, and then when things reflect in the water, the lights are going to be darker and the darks are going to be lighter. In other words, they're not as extreme, okay? And then the sky is being reflected in the water, okay? But you've got the sky a different color. Do you see how you went with more of a cerulean down here? And you've got more of an ultramarine up here? So think about that when you're reflecting the sky and the water. I would not have had the water so blue. I would have it more darker and then have the light areas reflect. I mean, I know it's a moving target when you're out there painting, but in your photograph, there's a couple areas that have light, and they're not going to be as light as the sky.
Okay.
So, but they should be similar in color because that's what it's reflecting.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, but it's not going to be as light and it's not going to be as dark. It's not going to be as dark. The trees aren't going to be as dark when they reflect, and the sky's not going to be as light as when it reflects into the water. So that's it. And then if you painted this all dark and had this dark area underneath these leaves, these lily pads, they'd really pop. But it's a lovely composition. Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely painting. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Oh, my turn. Okay, so here we have a great building, a great sidewalk, and great shadows. So Deb, why did you want to paint this?
Because it's exciting, but I was really working on my people and the building, and that's why I didn't make the building pink. It didn't go with my
Okay.
motif.
Yeah, okay, so you wanted to do people. Okay, so here are a few comments. One, I would probably cool did you use black in your shadows?
I can't remember, but I didn't use white. Everybody tells me I have to use white, so
Well, it looks like there might have been, did you paint white first and then come over on it?
I don't know. I can't remember.
So what I like to do is use transparent colors. So the thing is, the sun is coming at this angle per your shadow, okay? So that means all these shadows of the people are going to be the same angle. Now, I know we're painting throughout the day so that things change, okay? But so just make sure your shadows are the same angle throughout it, okay? I would cool, and I sometimes go too purple. I use a lot of like ultramarine and alizarin for my shadows, which sometimes is too purple. But just think about keeping it cooler and paint it thin, and don't have any white or any other color underneath when you paint. Paint your shadows first when you come in.
Right.
Paint it with a thinner. And then like this is going to be in sunlight, right? So you want this to pop. It seems to have a lot of white in it.
I can't see what you're saying. Oh.
You know what I mean? It's like it looks like it's supposed to be a hot day. So I'd like to see the street hotter and the buildings, the brick hotter. And then what I really like to see, remember that one painting I showed at the beginning where it was the Starbucks and there were stripes going across the street? Did you see that, Deborah?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, so the stripes, it's a really great opportunity if you had the white stripes coming through here, because you can really pop them. Now they're going to be underneath the people, but you can really pop them in the sun. And if they're in the shade, they change color. So it really gives you something more interesting to look at.
Right.
And so I love the building in the photograph, but you sort of chose not to show a lot of the building, but that was your decision. But
well, I do have a painting with it.
Oh, okay.
But then I changed it.
One other thing on your people, this is going to be a hot, hot light coming on this person, on all of them. And then this side's going to be, there's going to be some ambient light coming from above, but they're in shadow. So this is going to be darker. So use this as an opportunity to give form to these people. Light's going to be coming in on this side, and then the shadow is going to be on this side. And you're going to have shadow like underneath these skirts, right? And there's going to be shadow on the inside of the legs.
Right, great.
Right. And there's going to be light hitting this pant and on the calf. When people walk, the light hits their calf. So think about all those things. It's a great opportunity to do people. So great. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
But, good, fun colors and a scene to work with.
Well, I agree with everything Stephanie said. And Deborah, I want to compliment you because I know you've been working hard on your perspective, and I think you did a good job.
Yeah.
Woo, thank you.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a big accomplishment, and it really shows.
Yeah. you can
Now
only
that I
do,
said
you know,
something
so
good, I'm going to
much.
say something. Also, I want to really compliment you also on the, and Mary, I want to just show you also, Deborah, the way she made this cool here, as opposed to the light, you know, like the back of your garden wall. That's the kind of relationship that I think is very, you know, is good and it's accurate, you know. So warm light, cool shadows. Um, Cars. Cars have to be in proportion. This car is way too big, probably
Oh,
2
okay.
times too
Cool.
big. And also, if this ground is level, okay, that means that these people, this car is way up here, the roof, and the person's down here. That means that car is on a hill, and I don't think you're on a hill here. I think this is flat ground.
Wow.
Bottom of this car, the top of the roof, has got to be maybe a little taller than the person, but not much, and quite a bit smaller. Okay.
Wow.
Also, this is all in shadow here, so this could be even cooler, and you know, maybe a little bit darker. So you've got the right idea about the cars. You've got the back and you've got the sides, but so that's really all I have to say about that. It's just watch your get everything in proportion. And when you're doing, you did a good job of having these people. I'm looking at your photograph, because if this is the door, you don't have the people down here and the doors up here. The people could be maybe just a little bit taller, but not too much. But good job overall. Nice.
Thank you so much. I need another class, Errol. Let's do it.
Next year, after COVID.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, I'm up. Okay. So this is Sue Whitney's. Okay. And okay, there's the photograph. I mean the reference. Sue, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Hi, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
And okay, this is a great little painting. It looks like your garden shed or something like that, I assume. You know.
It was at a landscaper's.
Oh, yeah. And I think, let me get the make sure. Let's see. Can I draw here? Okay. Yeah. Clear. Let me just change my color to red so it shows up. My favorite part of this painting, I love this all back here. I mean, I really get the idea that this is like, I just love the idea that I'm seeing around the corner of this shed. And it gives me, I just love this whole area back here. Now, I see it's like a hot day, because I can tell it's a hot day because because the sun is really warming up this plane right here. So I don't really know which direction the sun's coming from, but I'm going to assume it's coming this way, that it's lighting up the shed.
Yes.
And if I'm right, then what we have to do is we have to be very careful in using too much white for our lights. Try to use, and I was so guilty of this for so many years, try to reduce the white, like take maybe a cad yellow and make a big pile of white, put just a drop of yellow into it, and get a warmer tone for your whites. Same thing here, okay? And that's going to really, you know, develop, you know, get some heat going on this building.
It was actually an overcast day. Overcast, but you know, you could tell the direction the sun was coming from.
So
it wasn't a real strong light.
Was sunny or no sunny?
It was a Saturday. It was a kind of an overcast day. There was a sun popped out once in a while, but it wasn't all the time.
Okay. Well, okay, so if it wasn't sunny, that throws a whole wrench into it. I'm looking back here and I'm seeing this kind of hot back here. And that's why I thought it was, you know, a sunny day.
Well, maybe the sun was out when I painted that.
Well, yeah, okay. So also, I'm looking at this little section under here. I think we can make this possibly a little bit darker. I'm going to assume it's a sunny day, so it'd be a little darker and a little cooler. And I think that would help that, you know, send that back a little bit.
Where?
Underneath the eave.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then a little bit, and then I think a little bit straighter, you know. And I think like possibly a little bit, just a little bit straighter on your vertical. I mean, I'm like a stickler for like vertical lines, you know, a little straighter, a little not so wonky. And this could be a little darker right here. And then maybe, I mean, the strongest chroma you have is over here in this green section. So let's see, I want to clear this. So my eye wants to go over here. I mean, I'm constantly fighting to stay in the picture right here. So if it is cooler, if it is a cooler day, then I would just kind of like cool this off a little bit and just kind of neutralize it and not make it so saturated and so intense. And I think that would help. That would help.
Cool off what part?
The screen.
Okay, cool green.
Here, I can't see your marker here.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm using my, this area right here.
Where?
It's just really intense.
Are you talking about this area, Errol? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, see it?
Cool off that hot spot, okay.
Yeah. And then by cooling that off, it'll keep my eye over here. And then what you can do is build up the, on the chroma, on the plants and the, you know, the plants and the leaves over here. And maybe some harder edges, you know, because you have like, you know, I think maybe some harder edges, like on these posts. I mean, it's nice to have all these soft edges, but by pulling these edges a little harder and making it a little bit darker, it's going to make this come forward and put in and keep all this and keep this back. And so I think maybe a few more darks. You know, maybe making this a little darker, but down here, few harder edges there, a few harder edges there. You know, I just think you need a few, you know, all the edges are kind of soft. So I think a few sharp edges, and it doesn't have to be sharp straight across. It could be like sharp, and then you can lose an edge, then lose it, then maybe a little harder, you know. Same thing down here, you know. And the same thing here, you can make it hard, then kind of lose it, you know. And then your brush strokes, it looks like your brush strokes are coming straight down. It sort of looks that way to me anyways. Try to vary your brush strokes sometimes on when your direction's going this way, come this way sometimes. You know, vary them. You know, see, all your brush strokes should kind of look down. And so, you know, vary some of the brush strokes. You did here, I like what you did here. You got this, you can do this, you can come across, you know, you can do various, you know, various types of strokes. And then the trees, careful not to get these hard edges on the trees. Yeah, okay. That's it. Great, nice job.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, I'm looking at I agree with Errol on a lot of that. I'm looking at the photograph and the painting on my phone, but yeah, if you have an opportunity to like darken this area where the shadow goes, you know, to create some more, it's overcast, but there's still not a hard shadow. But if you look at the photograph, it's a little darker underneath there. And I don't even know if I would darken the whites. They look very much like the photograph. But you as an artist have the liberty to say, you know what, some of the sun's going to come over here. And maybe it hits this wheelbarrow, and maybe the wheelbarrow becomes really hot, you know, with cad red, and it pops. So what that would do is take the attention from the door to this area. So that's your artist license, but you have the ability to do that. You could have brought this bright green back here and just, you know, use some hot sun in the front and in the back and kept the building cool. So that would be one option, or you just cool the back, as Errol said. But yeah, great job.
Thank you.
So you guys, you have about 30 minutes and 13 to go. So I think you're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit.
Okay.
Steph, why don't we switch? You take one, I take one.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Unless you have something that you want to add to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
All right.
clear your notes.
All right.
And
Okay, all right, so I'll do this one. So this is called Sunflower Glory, and it's a really nice composition with, it's like a still life. So my comments on it were, if there were more darks, like in these areas, that the leaves would pop forward. See, here's a good example of a dark. But if you had more of them, more leaves would pop forward, you know, and you could focus on the detail. Let's say you wanted, you know, this area to be the one to look at. Really give these flowers more detail than all the other flowers. Soften the petals on the other flowers. And I wouldn't be opposed to eliminating the sky and just making it a painting of the flowers in the green. But I think you get a lot more depth if you increase the darkness. Because I couldn't decide. I think that this is a tree in the background, but it wasn't clear if it was tree or more plants. So just decide where to focus and put some darks in so that things pop, and put that, and then pop the things you want to really have be your focal point, whether they're leaves or flowers, and soften the rest. But it's great, great, great painting.
Okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mary.
no, anything to add?
Next.
Next, okay. There's
Okay.
also,
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. This is Robin's, is the reference. Okay. And the painting. So Robin, I love this painting. I think you did a beautiful job on it. The comment that I have is I'm competing between what to look at here, the building or the birdhouse. I got a feeling that it's about the birdhouse because it's so well, it's rendered out, and it's you know, it's nicely painted. The building is kind of like, you know, back there. So what I would do is, so you've got this red, this area over here, which is kind of red, and this red here of the building, this red spot. I think what I would do is maybe just kill this building a little bit, still have a building back there, but just bring it down in value, just slightly, so it just doesn't stand out so much. The shape of it is fine. Even the color is fine. I would just bring it down, tone it down a little bit in value. The birdhouse is great. The trees are great. Sky is great. Maybe what you could do is, there's a lot of like, I like areas of rest and quiet as well as action. And you've got a lot of action in this painting all over the place. And with a lot of stroke, a lot of energy, all these, you know, all these strokes, energy here, energy here, energy here. I would take some of these ground planes and I would give some quiet areas, you know, even here, and have like an area of quiet, like you have all this clump of grass around this plane here. Have some quiet back here, you know, a flat plane. So you have foreground, you have middle ground, and you have background. Okay, and then underneath these trees back here, if I'm seeing this correctly, maybe a few darks back here of the tree line too, just slightly underneath. But other than that, great job.
Thank you, Errol.
You're welcome.
anything to add, Stephanie?
Just one thing, that maybe in the whites, like if this white is being hit by the sun, maybe, did you use pure white on that, Robin?
Afraid so.
Okay, so I always add a little yellow, because if you want this to be warm, I would add a little yellow to that. And then, you know, I can see that this side's cooler. So rather than use white out of the tube. So, but yeah, Errol had some ideas. And then, yeah, this area was so soft, my eye wanted to go over there and define it. I think it was the warm color too. So it sort of was a distraction and there was nothing there. But anyway, great painting.
Yeah, I break up this area with some darks too, Robin, on that left side.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Steph.
Thank you
Okay.
both.
Okay, all right. So this is Mary Hines, right?
John Hines.
John Hines. Oh, John Hines. So it said John and Mary Hines. So John. Is John here? So, okay. So this is the painting, the photograph. So we've got a pond and reeds and a building. So one of the things I discovered in the painting, go ahead to the painting, is this wall of reeds sort of serves as a fence. It says, don't enter. The photograph was much more wispy. So I felt like this was so dark and massive that it was like a fence to keep me from going into the painting. But I love the wispy reeds in the photograph. So that might be an idea. And then the reflection of into the water is going to be the color of the, it's going to be the color of what's above it. So I saw in the photograph that down here there was green. So I always try to incorporate some of the green. Do you see some of the green popping through from the bank up above? It's through the reeds, but and I love the path. I'd probably make it hotter. I think in the photograph it was hotter. There's a little path leading up. The edges on the building are so hard, my eye goes there. Now, if it's an important building, you know, maybe keep it. But if it's just a building and part of a landscape, I'd probably soften the edges. I'd probably not make everything so brown, because in the photograph, there was a lot of blue reflected in the windows and on the roof from the sky. So this is an interesting structure, and it could probably stand by itself and become a barn and eliminate this one. So it'd be a nice little landscape with a barn type structure. So anyway, that's all.
I just have one quick thing to add. It's a basic thing. It comes from John Carlson. Okay, there's 4 planes in landscape painting. You guys probably know this. Your lightest plane is the sky. Your next lightest plane is the ground plane. I mean, you can break the rules too. Your next darkest plane, so this is the lightest, this is the next lightest, this is the next darkest, lightest, darkest, darker on the slanted plane, vertical planes are the darkest. So because this plane on the side of this building is so light, it's kind of like, it needs to be darker is what I'm saying. It's just much too light, and it doesn't read quite right. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Stephanie, can you remove your, there you go.
Okay, go ahead.
That was Errol.
Sorry.
Okay, so this is, who is this?
Cynthia.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, who is this?
Cynthia
Oh,
Dipsky.
Cynthia, okay. I guess I'm out of order here, so I gotta find the, okay. Hi, Cynthia.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. So this is a watercolor. And,
No,
nice
it's an
job.
oil.
Hmm?
It's oil.
Oh, it's oil. I thought it was watercolor. It's so nicely, it looks so transparent. You know, the other thing, we're looking at photographs here. So, you know, photographs don't always give an accurate representation of what the painting looks like. And I'm sure all of these paintings, as good as they look, you look even better in person. So, you know, we have to do the best we can with what we see. Nice painting. This is a difficult subject. I painted this. Is this Lincoln Park?
This is at the conservatory.
Okay, in
Lincoln Park, yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln Park is, yeah. I've painted this also, and it's like, it's a bear to paint. So nice job drawing. You know, we want to, you know, in painting, we want to concentrate on our drawing, our value, our edges, and our color. Probably drawing is number 1, value is number 2, and then edges, and then color is last. And so I think you did a really good job on the drawing. And I think just a few things. Let's see, is this working? Okay. I think I was looking at the photograph. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, But I think if you, what attracted to you is you're looking through this dark shadowed space, and I painted this sort of same scene before, and then this building is lit up. I love painting these kinds of things because you get the contrast, and contrast is really, you guys, contrast is so important. And I once took a workshop with Michael Workman. He says the four things that make a successful painting are: number one, contrast. Then he had some other things too, but I can't tell you about them because I spent $8,000 on the workshop. But if you want to know about it, I can send me a check. I'm only teasing. Contrast number one, he said gloss number two, and frames number three. Now, I don't know, how true that is, but I do know contrast is definitely makes for powerful paintings. So I think if you darken this up a little bit more up in here, and maybe darken this slightly down here, this is fine over here. I think it's going to create more of a vignette where you're kind of like walking through it into the likeness. Let's see, and then I'm being really picky here because this is a good painting. Maybe these sky holes up here, I would kind of like get rid of those and maybe make that all dark right there. Maybe just a small little sky hole. And the one thing, I think the building's leaning. So I think your verticals have to be straight. Would really help. And it's very important when we put our boards in our holders that our boards are straight up and down. So always check when you're starting to paint that your boards are perfectly vertical. But other than that, I love all this work, all this brush work, all this, very nice. Oh, one other thing. You could possibly, I looked at the photograph, the sky is a little bit darker. You could, this would be at your choice. You could make this a slightly darker value, which would really pop this building a lot. Right now it just kind of blends into the sky, which is fine, but just slightly darker, That's all I got.
So Cynthia, I put in 2 paintings of the conservatory for you because I spent a lot of time looking at this painting. So I just want to add a couple things. One, I agree the sky would be darker. And then depending on your day, when I did the conservatory, this portion of the building was much darker than the sky. So take a
the day I was there, I almost had to put in darks because it was so bright and it was hard to find the panels because it was just so
it reflects.
Yes.
So, yeah. And then if you did do this dark, and it is dark down here, your copper flashing is a little light. Okay, it pops too much. But I think it's just overall lovely. The only thing I have is on this side, this brown, my eye kept going over there. I wanted to go over and it's like, what's in there? And so I think if it were more green or something, it would just disappear and I'd focus on the building. But it's a lovely painting.
Thank you very much. I'll make the changes.
No, don't touch it. But yeah.
Hey, you guys, I just want to tell you, Stephanie and I are making suggestions here. They're just our suggestions. You may agree with them. You may not agree with them.
Yes.
If we get 4 other artists, they might come up with something different. So, take what you like and ignore the rest.
And we don't agree with each other very often.
Well, Steph, you're up.
Okay. All right. So this one's Marcy's. So Marcy, it's your painting is very impressionistic. Let me tell you what I love about the photograph. Okay, before I get to your painting. I love the dark limbs of the trunks of this tree. I love the bright green lily pads. Okay. And so now let's go to your painting. You've used a whole different palette. So you've used some green, but everything else is very cool. And that, I think you took some artistic liberties. It's something I probably wouldn't have done. I probably would have kept these very, very dark. You know, you've got a very blue palette, and looks like you might mix some white with it too, right? So
Yes.
so our concept of palettes is quite different, but you know, I just expressed what I liked about what I saw in the photograph. But the thing, even with the palettes, you still could darken the trunks. I think it would pop, like the contrast with the lily pads here. If you darken the trunks, whether you choose to go blue or not, it would probably help. And then I would be careful about, you've got a lot of stuff going on in the trees and skies, and maybe darken the leaves, and because I can't tell which ones are leaves and which ones are sky holes. So maybe add more leaves and then be very deliberate about your sky holes. And then when you do have sky, make sure the color of the sky, let's say if this is sky, the color being reflected into the water is in the same family as the sky. Here you've got like a white, greenish color in the sky. And then, I mean, it might be trees, but down here, it's more of a cerulean blue in the water. So,
yeah, I use way too much white. Take my white tubes away from me.
I have painted without white. Marcy, I've painted without white. A lot
and you
of
know what?
add white
I
into
had those tree trunks very dark, and at the last minute, I thought they're way too dark. They were like the dark side of the rock.
Look at this color down here. That would be great.
Yeah, that's what I had. And at the last minute, I changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have left it.
So, and then maybe this horizon line in the background is a little hard. You could probably soften it, but it's a great concept, you know? So I'm just a little lost with the leaves, and then I just love those dark trunks so much. I sort of miss them.
Solvable. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Errol?
Yeah, I'm up. Okay. So this is Yelena's. Okay, so Yelena, beautiful painting. You got the reference there, Mary? So we can see the scene. It's a river front scene, you know, urban scene. There's some boats, you know, buildings right on the water, very pretty. If I'm just looking at the painting, I don't know about you guys, but I want to go sort of like right in here. That's sort of where my eyes going.
We can't see what you're doing.
Can't you see that?
Yeah, now I do.
Yeah. So this is where I think the focal point should be. So now you can go to the painting.
This focal point, okay.
Okay. So what we have in this painting is it's an impressionistic painting, and I've seen some of Alina's work before, and it's consistent with your style, which is very nice. It's kind of French impressionist to me. But I don't know where to look. I'm kind of looking all over the painting, and I like to kind of like settle on something. So I just have two main points that can help this painting. I've been harping on this over and over again, but when you do cityscapes, in my opinion, the buildings have to be straight. Your buildings are lean. This one's straight. This one's straight. But try to keep your buildings straight. Okay, that's one thing. Second of all, try to keep your perspectives. This is in front of you, so that perspective's fine. Because your horizon line, well, you're up above. I think, well, maybe they're not so bad. They're close. They're close. I think it would really help if the buildings were straight. So I want to like concentrate on this area. How can I do this? I think if you quiet down this bridge, you know, and maybe quiet down some of these buildings, kind of send them back with cooler blues, lighter values, take the water, make some areas of rest. When we have everything textured, the reason we see color in a painting is because you have non-colored areas. The reason we see texture is because you have non-textured areas. So instead of making everything so textured and it looks like you're using a palette knife and loaded brushes, try just like smoothing out the water areas, you know, just make it a flat shape. And then try with these bolts, try actually defining a bolt, you know, a couple bolts sitting there, you know, making kind of like bolts right here, just a couple, you know. And then when you define, this is an important thing, guys, whether you're doing people, you're doing crowds of people, you're doing crowds of bolts, if you can define a couple, I can put anything back here, even a couple lines with a couple sticks, and they're going to look like bolts because the front ones are going to tell you what they are, okay? So I think if you do that, and then maybe, you know, get this focal area right here, like really strengthen up your colors right here with some harder edges. How are you going to get the eye to look there? You need harder edges and you need stronger colors. And then you can get rid of all these windows back here, all these windows back here. Just make it like, just take a brush and go right through this. Also, watch out too much white. And the last thing I'll say is your sky is like, you got too much going on in the sky. I would smooth out your sky a little bit. So, I mean, if you want to stay with all this energy, it's fine. But I think it would be a stronger painting. You can still keep your energy, but also have some areas of quiet. That's what I have to say. Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Steph.
Okay. Okay. So this looks like something I would paint. So this is Elizabeth's, right? Is Elizabeth here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it looks like something, where are you? Okay, it looks like something I'd paint. I'm trying to see you. Anyway, so I love what you did. You've got this green plane and you've got this portico. So let's look at the painting. Okay, you did a great job on the brickwork. It's not brick, it's stone, the masonry. You might not have needed all that detail, but you probably could have used a flat brush and like stroked it in, and it would look like a stone, and stroke it in, and you don't have to do all the stones. All of a sudden they appear to the eye. Okay, you know, you would do a few on each wall and they appear. The shadow, I feel like the shadow is a little, I'm trying to get rid of all those stroke marks I made, a little, maybe it should be more transparent. So I tend to use transparent colors like ultramarine blue, olive green, and alizarin for my shadows. And because I get sucked back here, but I feel like it's flat. But you did such a great job on these figures. So I'm gonna get picky here, okay? So this shadow line, it technically, and I look closely at the photograph, is technically straight, okay? Because it's part of,
What shadow line?
did you see, I put it in black.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, this was probably a little steeper, all right? But see how straight this line is? In the photograph, it's straight too, okay?
Yeah.
So, all right. So it's straighter, but I probably would have raised the shadow. I know the shadow's moving all the time, okay? All right, and then it's got an edge on it. And I probably would have done that. I changed my, this marker to black so you could see. And what that would have done is popped the building, the edge of the portico. Do you see?
Yes, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then maybe back here too, you probably could have created a little shadow and then added shadow on the grass too. Do you know what I mean? So it really pops. Okay. So, and then, also this edge up here is, you've got it dark. I looked at the photograph. The reason the edge is dark, and this is really picky, is because it slopes down. Do you see how I'm changing?
Yes.
And you've got it vertical. If it's vertical, now I don't have any problem with you painting it vertical, but it would have been lighter. See how you've got this plane so bright? So think about, now, if you could either make it dark or light, but what you want to do is make it pop against what it's behind so that it comes forward, because that's what gives this whole thing depth. And, you know, it makes it three-dimensional to the eye.
Yeah, I was concerned that it didn't feel three-dimensional enough, but I think you're right. Moving the shadows over there will
It did
will
pretty
help,
good.
yeah.
And then this is just sort of a funny thing about the shadow that you have, because you curved this, all of a sudden it looks like a silhouette of a woman, and I'm like, oh, those women don't look like that. So, and then I'd probably, since you've got a sunny day, oh, also bottoms of buildings are typically dirtier. Go look at your photograph. And I mean, it's not gonna look like that, but they're dirtier. It gives, it helps give some dimension to the building. You know, and loosen the grass. The grass might be coming up the building. And then I'd probably put some light on this bush. You've got a shadow, so lighten the top edge of it. And then you could probably soften this roof edge back here, because and this one too. You could probably soften them, and by soften, take your brush and just go through them. Let them bleed into the sky, and that way they wouldn't detract from where you want us to look. So, but it's great. You did a great job on this.
Okay, Marks. So there's a photograph. It's an old broken down barn, great barn, and with a shed, looks like a house behind it. And excuse me, Steph, are those my marks or your marks?
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, so now we can look at the painting. And nice job, Mark. I think you kept the character of an old broken down, dilapidated barn. Now, in this case, I've been harping on straight edges. I don't care if the edges aren't straight in the barn, because it's a broken down barn. It looks like it's ready to collapse. So good job on that. Let me see if my thing's working. Okay, just a couple quick things on this. Whenever you have green and you have red next to each other, see the green, and then of course the strong red next to each other, it's going to intensify the red because they're complementary colors, and the green. I would like to see this whole red section, maybe this value in this color right here. It kind of sends it back. That red is popping forward. Okay. Also, what I would do is I would just slightly, this window here, I just think that light section is just a little bit too light. It's a sky hole, essentially. So, you know, it could be looking out in the field. You could even break it up by having like maybe a little, breaking it up into two colors, like it's looking off on a hill or something, you know, and maybe a few little more light slats. I don't know if you can see this, like slivers of light, like you're looking through it, like you got up here. This is a really nice job up here, you know, because you can see through the roof. I think that was great. So that's all good. One other thing, I think you could take this, so you have like you have your foreground, you have your middle ground, you have your background. I think the middle ground could be slightly lighter, these greens a little bit lighter. One reason these greens look so intense is because you have this red right here. So I was just thinking if you can just soften these up a little bit and make them a little bit cooler than this up here. It would send it back because we want to get some depth going on back there. And then, yeah, and I think that's about it. That's all I got to say.
I have a quick question if I can. So when you're doing something like a barn, do you try and paint? I'm struggling with, do I paint every single board, or do I just paint broad sections of color and put in a little detail? And I know
I think you did a great job the way you did it. You know, it's like, you know, when you paint a brick building, you don't paint every brick. I used to paint every brick when I started painting 40 years ago. You know, now I hardly put any bricks in. You can do it just like Stephanie said, by just putting in different, you know, strokes of color and texture and value, you know. So you get a really good job here. You got like a value here, you got a value here, you got a value here, you got a little dark there, a little dark. You know, you have indications. You don't have to explain. You explained enough to give the viewer an idea of what it is. You're painting a painting, and not, trying to replicate, a board. You're giving a feeling. That's how I like to paint. I want to, establish a feeling. You got a feeling of a whole broken down. And you can bring up the photograph again, please. You can see that, back here, I would even you have on the painting, you have kind of I would do it just like the photograph back here. Fill that in. And you see how this is intense at all? And you have the red so intense. So
Yeah.
I would do,
Yeah.
I would do that. So, but good job on keeping a little bit of sky hole there. Oh, back to the photograph one more time, Mary, sorry. And you see these little lines here? Just a little sliver that really gives a sense that this is there's spaces there. You had a couple, but you could even do it more, So
Thank you.
see the painting one more time, then I quit on this one. That's it. Good job.
Right, and I agree with all that. So, okay, Lori, great painting. Look at the photograph. At a glance, when you first, Lori, you're here, right?
I'm here, yeah.
Yeah, at a glance, sometimes it was hard to tell the difference between the photograph and the painting. So, yeah, so let's go back to the painting. I love the contrast of the bright green and the dark trunks of the tree. I think that, let me look at my notes. Yeah, I think I would use, you started to use the light to set to a little bit on the path, but maybe you could use it more to separate these trees, give them distance, this tree versus this tree. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I know you might have a shadow, but just change the value slightly so that one pops in front of the other one. And I think too that I would have, there was some, you've got sunlight hitting the path here, it appears. So I wouldn't mind some bright green over here, because it'll bring this information that's behind the trees over to this side. Now, not all over, because most of this is in shadow. You did a nice job. And then the other thing is the top of the trees leaves me a little cold, and maybe just open it up with sky a little bit. Not all over, but in a few places, whether it's a sky hole or just a few. You don't want to make it symmetrical, but do you know what I mean? Just a little bit. Was it like that in the photograph?
It was, I don't know if it was in the photo when I was standing there. It's really like such a blanket. So what is at the top, or like, it's just like another tree that's light?
Right, and I remember looking at that and going, it's not sky holes, but it looks like this one might be a sky hole. It's a little hard, but I think because it's go back to the painting, you use texture and a little bit of value, like here, to differentiate the leaves on the tree. But then up at the top where there's probably more light, nothing's going on. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want you have so much up there that you take your eye away from this beautiful scene.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's where you want to look. But I think just a little bit, because I want to either cut the top of the painting off, or I want just a little variation in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I have to say.
I just want to say quickly about the painting that I think you did a good job in this, Lori. I really love this painting.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to say to everybody is, look how she did 75%, 25%. This painting is basically dark, and she has that green, which is like maybe 20% of the painting, which is this beautiful abstract shape going through it. And it's really a pretty, it's strong, it's dramatic, and I think she did a great job. I don't have much else to say. I kind of disagree with Stephanie as far as lightening the tops of the trees. I like the idea that it's dark all the way up, because
I don't really mean lighten the tops of the trees. Just put just a slight variation on the top, but yeah.
Well, maybe a variation of like cool leaves hitting the light, which she does have if you look. I mean, I don't like sky holes up there.
Yeah.
You know. Anyways, go ahead. Next one.
Well, we won't know until she does it.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Maureen. I got Maureen. Is this Maureen? That's
Yeah,
part of the
Maureen.
painting. Where's the rest of it?
That's it.
Just wanted to know,
Oh,
I've
is there
never,
more to it?
well, no, that's it.
I thought it was,
But,
for some reason I thought.
oh, another,
All right, so Maureen, this is like, you know, great job, killer painting. I mean, the rendering on the statues is magnificent. The rendering on the rocks, I mean, you know, you should be very proud of yourself. I mean, the temperature, I feel that it's stone. Everything is reading perfectly. Now, that being said, the thing that I looked at with this painting is, and what kind of like bothers me, are the red flowers. I just feel like they're, again, we have red on green. So red on green, complementary colors. I feel it's just like too, it looks like it's pasted on almost, like a little bit too intense. I think if you just like kind of like lose some of the detail, and again, you know, do what you like. I mean, you did a beautiful job. I mean, I couldn't do this, believe me. I mean, you took it to a very high degree of finish. So just think about, I'll say, give it some thought that if you kind of like incorporated, like this green here is a little bit different than this green here. And we don't really know where the light's coming from too much, but maybe if you darken, like put some darks in here and lost some of the detail, like if you made this dark in here, then have some edges coming out, like don't define every one of these leaves, just a few. And then maybe some of these back here, make them a little, maybe a little lighter, wait, what's that going on? Why am I not, oh, because I'm on red. If you made them like a little lighter value, maybe the edges, vary the edges. Right now, they're all very defined, is what I'm saying. You know, all these flowers are defined, and they're beautifully rendered. Don't get me wrong. But because I don't know what to look at, I want to look at the statues, because I think they're great. I really want to look at the statues, but my eye keeps looking at the flowers. So I think somehow you've got to like maybe just reduce the flowers just a little bit, or think about it maybe in the future. I don't know if you want to touch this. It's so finished so beautifully. But that's really all I have to say. But you know, all the rocks, you know, this lace work back here, really nice job.
well, thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
I've always, I was hoping to get a professional's opinion, so thank you.
You know, we're all on the same path, but again, it's just an opinion. You know, you might want to leave this as it is, and then keep it in mind next time. Okay.
Okay, can I ask you one question that I've wondered about it? Well, I know it's getting late though.
Go ahead.
That over there on the left-hand side, I'm trying to work some stone in there to make a really good balanced composition.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It seems like I don't know if I need more there or what.
Well, if you want to just put a little peak, maybe just a peak here, a peak there, you know, a few little peaks you could. I love what you did with the stone here. It's up to you. It doesn't bother me, the one stone, but if you wanted to put just a little bit here, you know. But
okay.
Yeah, you could.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah, sure. Good job.
Thanks.
Okay, we're moving right along.
Okay, all right. Are we going to do Andrea's? Yeah. So Andrea, you're here, right? So
Yes.
This is called Twilight, I believe, and Twilight at Citizens Park. It's a really nice abstract. So I was looking at it, and it's quite different than what I paint. So I was trying to, you know, what do I want to say about it? And so here's my observations. If you want to show depth, I think you need more contrast between, I'm looking at this as sunlight, this area here, and then what's around it. I think you need, if you want to show depth, this tree in front should be maybe darker in contrast, and that we have this little window of this orangey pink twilight that we go back to. I actually went and researched photos of twilight, like what does twilight look like? And then a lot of times it's these beautiful, beautiful colors, excuse me, beautiful colors, and that they're almost silhouetted with trees in front of them. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know that that was your objective. So it depends on your objective. I just think it's a group of beautiful colors. I can tell it's a tree. I can tell it's probably sun. So I think you've probably accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. But if you really want to take somebody and give it depth, then there may be more contrast between the bright sun in the back and what's in front. And that contrast would come with value. So does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah, do you want to say something about this painting, like what you're trying to
This was
achieve?
one of those paintings where I try to add a few effects using scumbling and then letting it dry and then glazing over to get that sort of filtered idea of light streaming from the background forward. So I try to catch the value a little bit on the rocks and maybe a little tweak on the right corner, but not to overtake it. I just want to get the idea of air, so to speak.
And I think like this side works well with the contrast. You know, I see that the light is behind it, but because this tree is so light, it doesn't tell the same story. So, but it was a lot of fun. It's really beautiful colors. It's beautiful to look at.
Okay. Okay, this is Richards. Are you here, Richard? No. No. Well, I'll talk about it anyways. You know, this painting, I was looking at this, it's got a lot of good stuff going on. And it's like, it wouldn't take much for this painting to be a great painting. And by that, I mean, right now it's all pretty much, if I squint down, the edges are very soft. It's pretty much one value. I mean, two values. The water's a value, and then there's, you know, these hills back in the background are kind of like a value. But it's so nice and soft. I just think if he would take this area of you know, the water and like, you know, bring this up a value, you know, and start popping some areas, you know, and then throwing in some darker areas, like where this water is back here, you know, and then maybe some little darker reeds, you know, develop the front part of this painting and let this back part of the painting just fade into the background. Because right now he has this path going back there, which is really nice. So it wouldn't take much. I mean, this is almost, you know what this is a good example of? This is a good example of where you want your painting to be, like in a, it could be a middle stage, you know, where you did like your drawing, your block in, you're starting to like develop your painting. So don't forget, in oil painting, we go light on dark. So, you know, he has all his darks in there and he doesn't have his lights too light. He doesn't have his colors too strong. He could just start popping things, you know, pop this up front, pop some reeds here, pop the water, you know, and then maybe pop the sky just slightly. You know, the harmony is all there. So, you know, this is almost like you're looking at this scene through squinted eyes and all the detail is kind of like gone, but it's still there and it's still beautiful. So if we can all, or if I can learn to paint this way, you know, which I try to do, and sometimes I go for too much hard edges right away, you know, bring it up from a softness to a finish, from a dark to a light, you know, gradually bring it along, kind of like creep up on it. So it's one way to paint. And I think I like this painting. Okay, next.
So, yeah, this is Howard's. And Howard, look at this. So I can see why you wanted to paint this. It's a beautiful sunset. And I see a lot of orange and green, not orange, not green, orange and pink. And this was probably yellower in the photograph, I mean, in real life than it was. And then I see the bird. So let's now, in the sky is reflected into the water. So let's look at the painting. So I'm guessing that there was yellow in the sun because you had a yellow sun, you painted a yellow sun, which got a little green probably because you had blue on there. But I think I would have focused on the pinks and the oranges and really popped it. And, but I mean, that's my interpretation. You did get some oranges in here, but I think there was room for a lot more color. I love the bird. I think I would have kept it a little, used a smaller brush. I mean, you got a beautiful line here, but I think I probably would have kept it a little thinner, a little smaller. And then I keep in mind that the sky is going to be reflected in the water. They're not exactly the same color, but I don't see a relationship between the water and the sky so much here. But I love the concept of the sunset. And then with these guys over here, I would just be careful of your perspective. I think it was a little different, a little flatter than what you've painted. And yeah, you could put a bird, but I'd probably do it in silhouette like you did the flying bird over here. But I think it's a great, oh, I don't see a video of Howard. But I think that painting sunsets is probably really hard, but they can be really beautiful, and you've got some beautiful colors. I just would like to see more of them.
I want to say something about this painting, okay? Because I've looked at this painting for a long time. And nice job, Howard. A couple of things. I agree with everything that Stephanie said. A couple of things. The horizon line here. You've got it kind of like up and down. That horizon line, keep it straight, okay? Also, keep areas quiet, okay? Right now you got kind of an active sky right here. I'm looking at your photograph. I would really quiet down the sky and then put your texture a little bit in the water in the front area. And then as it goes back, it gets less textured, less textured, less textured, no textured at all. Second of all, if you could go back, oh, and I think the bird should be just a little bit smaller, but can you go back to the photograph, Mary? This is a beautiful place to tell a story about you know, sometimes we think about when we paint, you know, we can just paint a scene and paint, you know, a storefront or, you know, paint a car and a person. And, you know, that's all fine and good. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's also nice to paint a story, you know, and what's actually going on, and paint some emotion. You know, I mean, look at the sky here. That's what I'm talking about. It's nice and, you know, it's kind of more quiet. And then this horizon line is straight. A little more texture up in this front area. Maybe you could have even that wave coming through. But here's the story. This is the story right here. Make this area dark. You've got the little bird right here, right? This little bird could be like the little baby bird, and its mother is flying off, right? I mean, you've got a story of like a family right there. So, I mean, it's got the makings of saying something more than just a sunset, you know? Is the bird flying into the sunset? Is it leaving the baby? You know, it could go on and on and on. So that's all I want to say about that. Just so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, think about telling a story sometime. Not to be an illustrator, you know, there's nothing wrong with the illustration, but, you know, that's what illustrators do, is they tell stories. Okay, my turn?
Last one. This is
Last one.
Clayton Beck.
Clayton, are you here, Clayton?
I have not seen him.
Okay, so Clayton's not here. Okay, so I love this painting. You know, I mean, you know, if you don't know Clayton, he's been painting a long time. He's a very experienced painter. And he did this one, I guess, in France. It's very, I'd like to see this painting in person because I'm sure it looks even better. You know, it's just, you know, I just like, you know, I like that he's looking uphill and you see the tops of the trees. You can't see over the hill. It's kind of got the directional of this, you know, this path that's leading you, you know, into the scene. Again, the trees, the space up here. He didn't, he left some areas for rest. There's area. I've been talking a lot about areas of rest to you guys, and I try to do that myself. I mean, look at this area. He didn't put texture in every single blade of grass. He left this very smooth, and the smooth makes the texture here. The smooth makes the texture here. We have texture because we have areas of smooth. Look at this. This is just this flat paint, then texture. So we don't, we don't have to have like every blade of grass or every plant, and you don't have to define everything. It could just be strokes. So, this is a painting for you guys to look at and to study. And another thing in our paintings, I just want to say it's not a bad idea to start to look at the masters, the master plein air painters, and even painters research that painted in the 1800s, or the 1850s, the Danish and the French and the Italians, and look at some of their landscapes, and see how they handle different things. And we can learn by, studying other people's paintings, as well as these critiques, which are valuable for everybody. But like right now, I'm reading Richard Schmidt's book. Again, I never really read it cover to cover, and I'm reading it cover to cover, word for word, and I plan to do that with even more books. I have a lot of books that I haven't read that I've had for years. And, I will say one more thing. As we all could continue in our painting careers, certain things are going to make sense. Certain things are going to make no sense. Then as you go along, certain things are going to, oh yeah, that's what they were talking about, or that's what they meant in that book. Then it's going to make more sense. Then it's even going to make more sense. So you build and you build and you build and you build. And one more thing too. As we develop in our painting careers, it's a good idea every once in a while to go out and when you're saying out, all right, today I'm just going to work on perspective. Or today I'm going to make sure I get my edges right or my values right. I'm going to make sure maybe I'm just going to do a value study just in black and white or three shades of raw umber. So with that, I'll just shut up. Thanks.
Yeah, I just have a couple comments. Can you remove your things, Errol?
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful painting. For some reason, my eye wants just a little bit more, oh, bear with me here, a little bit more panel over here. Do you know what I mean? Because these go, because of these lines going this direction. I just want a little bit more tree and a little bit more, but I don't know if it would make a difference. And then perhaps it's called vineyard. I didn't know it was a vineyard until I saw the name, but maybe a few posts need to be defined and a little bit of darkness so that I get more height and, really realize what the vineyard is. But that's pretty tiny and it's really a beautiful painting. That's it.
Well, you guys, thank you very much for a terrific critique and fun too. You've got lots of notes in the chats thanking you.
You're welcome.
And you guys, I think you're still friends, so that's nice.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. This was
Yeah, it was a lot of
fun.
fun.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
So much.
Thanks
you very
for
much.
asking us to comment.
I'm painting you guys.